Hey guys, welcome to Mad Scientist Barbecue. I'm Jeremy Yoder, and today I'm going to be comparing a bunch of my offset smokers, from the cheapest to the most expensive. That tastes like my childhood. This video is sponsored by my new favorite cereal company, Magic Spoon. When I was a kid, my favorite thing to do was get a big bowl, fill it with cereal, pour in some milk, and go watch Saturday morning cartoons. That was the quintessential experience of childhood. As an adult, I don't ever buy cereal because I'm thinking it's carbs covered in sugar, it's not healthy for me, it tastes delicious, but it's no good. But Magic Spoon is different. It gives you that same flavor, but it's healthy. The reason Magic Spoon is special isn't just because they have great flavor. There are other cereals that taste great, but those are not good for you. Magic Spoon tastes great, but has 0 grams of sugar, 14 grams of protein, 4 grams of net carbs, and only 140 calories per serving. Magic Spoon offers delicious flavors. So whatever your favorite is, you can choose that one, and you can eat healthy and still have something delicious. So they have peanut butter, they have frosted, they have cocoa, they have fruity. So whichever profile you like, that's the one you can choose while eating healthy and getting something really delicious and satisfying. I laughed when I read this. It says, healthy cereal that doesn't taste like this box. And I tried lots of protein powders that have a lot of the same ingredients that this cereal does. Those protein powders taste like junk. This cereal tastes amazing. It's keto-friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, low-carb, and GMO-free. So if you're looking for something healthy that tastes delicious, Magic Spoon is the way to go. Click the link below to grab a variety pack and try it today. And be sure to use the promo code MSBBQ at checkout to get $5 off any order. Or go to magicspoon.com/MSBBQ. And Magic Spoon is so confident in their product, it's backed by a 100% happiness guarantee. So if you don't like it, for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. So click the link below and use the code MSBBQ for $5 off, or go to magicspoon.com/MSBBQ to save $5 today. So we're going to take a quick look at all these offset smokers, the benefits and the drawbacks, what might be right for you based on its price. And I've been getting so many questions about, can you compare this smoker to this smoker? What are your thoughts on this one versus this one? So I thought I'd do a short video where I explain my thoughts on each smoker, and then you can make the right decision for you. Also, today our usual camera guy, JD, can't be here, so we're going to make do with what we've got. But let's get into the first one, the Next Grill smoker. So the Next Grill, I got this smoker for just over $100 at Home Depot. I'll put a link for that video in the description. But it is very cheap, both in terms of how much it costs and in how well it's built. So nothing really here is welded. It's basically sheet metal that's been put together into the shape of a smoker. You know, everything bends. It's not really very sturdy. It might last you for a few months if you use it regularly. Now, you can produce good barbecue with this, but it's much harder to produce great barbecue on something this size. So the total cooking area on this is about 435 square inches, which isn't very much. So you could do 1 brisket, you could probably do 2 pork butts, maybe 3 racks of ribs. But the key problem is the thin metal and the small firebox make it almost impossible to keep a consistent temperature with this offset smoker. And with offset smokers, keeping a consistent temperature is the name of the game. That's really the crucial aspect that you have to be able to do to make great barbecue. Don't be ashamed if you have something like this. I started off with something even worse than this, and I loved barbecue so much that it didn't even matter because I was so enthused by creating barbecue, building a fire, cooking meat, that the equipment didn't matter. Now, equipment can really help you, but it's not about the equipment, it's about cooking meat with a fire. And with this, you can do that, and you can make really good stuff. But there are other options that can cook a lot better, and you don't have to fight with them nearly as much as one like this. Next up, we have the Oklahoma Joe. So this is kind of the first offset smoker where I really feel like you're getting into real offset smoking. You're not fighting with something that's super flimsy and is just kind of a pain to deal with. So here you can burn a real fire, so you can use only wood and totally be fine. You can create great flavor, the flavor that you're after when you make barbecue. And ultimately, for me, I bought this one on Craigslist for $200, so the quality of barbecue that this can make is 100% worth it. The Next Grill was just over 100. This was 200. Worth every penny. So rather than spending $120 on a cheap, flimsy offset smoker that you can get at Home Depot or Lowe's, I would say, why don't you peruse Craigslist like I did to find this and get it for a couple $100. It's 3/16" thick steel, so it's not quite the 1/4" thick steel that you're really after, but it's pretty darn close. It's thick enough that it's gonna last not just for a season or a year, it's gonna last for decades. This one is pretty old, and it's still totally fine because it's made out of thick steel. Also on this thing, in terms of cooking, you get way more space, so about 750 square inches, whereas the next grill is 435. Not only do you get more space with this, you also get much better cooking qualities. Because it has a big firebox, and the firebox is made out of thick metal, that means when you add a log, you don't get a humongous temperature spike. With the next grill, the firebox is so small that when you add a piece of wood, you get a huge temperature spike, and when that wood burns out, you get a huge temperature drop, and it's just kind of like a sine wave. It's just moving up and down and up and down and up and down, and it's so hard to maintain. With this, it does what it's supposed to do. There are some issues with getting a used smoker on Craigslist. This one has some rust, but that's easily taken care of with some cooking spray and building a fire. Also, it leaks around the cook chamber, but you get you some high temperature silicone, you get you some barbecue gas, you have this thing sealed up tighter than Fort Knox. Next up, we have the Old Country Brazos. Now, this isn't my most expensive smoker. It's not my best smoker, but it's the one that I love the most because this was my introduction to real barbecue, cooking meat with a real fire. Didn't really have to use charcoal. I can use wood as the fuel source and the flavoring source. And so being able to mess with the fire, being able to cook meat on this was a way for me to be able to really judge my skill. When you have something really cheap like the next grill, you're fighting with your equipment the entire time. With this, you're not fighting the equipment. And so if something goes wrong in the cook, it's your fault. It's not the equipment's fault. With the cheap stuff, it could be your fault. It could be your equipment's fault. You don't know. But with something like this that's a 1/4 inch thick, you know that if there's a mistake that happened, it's on you. And if you made incredible barbecue, guess what? That's on you too. So you can get the reward of cooking great stuff, and you get to be able to use something that will last for decades and decades. Let's talk about some numbers with this smoker. It is a 1/4 inch thick. That's very important. That is the gold standard of smoker thickness. Basically, the thicker metal helps retain heat and prevents rusting through. Like the next grill will probably rust through in several months of use. This thing, my grandkids could use this thing because it is so thick, it's very heavy. You can tell when you lift the door that you're dealing with quality. Also, it's got 916 square inches of cooking space, which is a lot. So I've done up to 3 briskets in this thing. It really does more for your dollar than almost any other smoker that I know of. You get real offset smoker flavor without having to pay a huge price tag. Now, I've used this thing in lots of videos. Old Country Barbecue Pits doesn't pay me anything. I don't have any kind of agreement with them. I just like this thing, and I think for most people saving up to buy a quality offset, this makes the most sense. Okay, finally we have the Franklin Barbecue Pit. I'm gonna do a full review on this, so all your questions should be answered in that review, but I'm just gonna give you the highlights here, and let's get to some numbers. This was $4,000, which is not cheap. I have the cover for it as well. That was 300 bucks. Also not cheap. Another important number is 627. That's how many square inches of space there are on the one cooking grate that's right here. And if you compare it to the Brazos has more cooking space. You compare it to the Oklahoma Joe has more cooking space. If you compare it to the next grill, well, this has more cooking space than the next grill. But for $4,000, it really should. Next, let's talk about how it functions. This is simply the best cooking backyard smoker I've ever used. So it's better than the Brazos, it's better than the Oklahoma Joe, and it's a far cry better than the next grill. But there are some things that are left to be desired. It leaks from the cook chamber, which isn't a big deal, doesn't really affect performance, but for $4,000, you do not want your smoker to leak. Let's talk about some of the good things about this smoker. First of all, it has great convection. So it pulls air through like a big offset. It's incredible, it's awesome. Also, that means that you can produce great flavor because you can easily burn a clean fire and produce great smoke flavor that you get with an offset, but you don't have to fight against the smoker to get clean smoke. This one works with you. You don't have to push it. It just wants to do the right thing. Now, ultimately, is this thing worth $4,000? Maybe. If you have plenty of money lying around and you think, I want the best backyard smoker I can get, yeah, this might be the best choice. But I think there might be some others that would be worth your time, like the Workhorse 1975 or the Millscale 94, or Fatstack Smokers is coming out with a backyard pit too. Those could be better. But if I'm being honest, this thing is very, very good. I wish it were bigger. I would tweak some small things. But really, the ultimate question is it worth the price? Because it's $4,000, which means it's 4 times as expensive as the Brazos. Is it 4 times better? Certainly not. If you spent $1,000 on the Brazos and $3,000 on meat to practice with, I think you'd be much better off getting the Brazos. But if money's not an object, I think this is definitely a good choice. Last but not least, we have my Fatstack 500-gallon offset smoker. Now, this is my pride and joy. This is the smoker I love to cook on more than anything else. It's the easiest to use. It makes the best smoke flavor. It can hold the most meat. I can put 25 briskets on here, no problem. It's just a wonderful piece of equipment that I'm never gonna stop gushing over it because I love it so much. Let's get into the numbers for this smoker. It's a 500-gallon tank. It'll probably cost you somewhere in the neighborhood of $10,000. The quality of what you can produce barbecue-wise on this isn't gonna be matched by any of these. It's just, there's no way around it. To build a real fire, to put all that smoke and heat through the smoker, all the convection, it can come close in a backyard offset, but it's never gonna match what you can get with this. There's just no way around it. I don't know exactly why, I just know that from experience, the quality of the barbecue you can make with this, you're just not gonna be able to match with a backyard smoker. So who would get a smoker like this? Somebody who might wanna cook for a large group. Say you wanna cook for your church or for your athletics department, or for, you know, your friends, or you want to open a catering business, or you're thinking, I'm going to do some catering and I might start a restaurant. The 500 really is the way to go because it's big enough that it's very forgiving, but it's not so big that it takes a long time to adjust in temperature. So if I want to bump the temperature up in this thing by 20 degrees, that's easy. But it doesn't have wild temperature swings. If you go to a 1,000-gallon pit, that's a great smoker, but you have to work a little harder to get it to do what you want. Because this thing has a little over 5,500 square inches of cooking space, you can do 25 briskets, you could do 40 pork butts, I don't even know how many racks of ribs, you could do lots and lots and lots of chicken. It just works so well. It's a wonderful thing. And this thing is on a trailer, which means you can hook it up to your truck and take it wherever you want to go. So recently I did a video at Sullivan University where I took the Franklin barbecue pit and tried to load it onto a trailer. I had to take it there, unload it. The whole loading and unloading and transporting process was horrible. I don't ever want to do that again. With this, it's easy. You hook it up and you go and you cook. Let me sum things up now and I'll go over each one and whether or not I would recommend buying it. The next grill, I would not recommend buying it. You could spend that money on something that will work better. Use it for a Weber Smoky Mountain maybe. You could use it for, you know, an inexpensive pellet grill, or you could use it for the Oklahoma Joe. This is an older one, so for 200 bucks and to get 3/16-inch thick steel, that is a screaming deal. That is super hard to beat. If you see one on Craigslist, I would say absolutely 100% snatch that thing up before somebody else does. It's gonna be completely worth it. A time-proven design, you're gonna be able to make great barbecue with this, and it's not gonna break the bank. The Old Country Brazos, if you're looking for a new smoker, there is no better bang for your buck than this thing. It's 100% worth it. You get 1/4-inch thick steel, you get a stack that comes in at great level, you get a big firebox, you get something that's gonna stand the test of time, and you will be able to make great barbecue, and you're not gonna have to worry if your equipment is the problem. The Franklin barbecue pit, is it good? Yes. Is it better than the other backyard smokers I have here? Yes, it is. Is it worth the $4,000? Well, you have to be the judge of that. I would say that if it's not a strain for you to pay that, then sure, go for it. But for most people out there, one of the other smokers is gonna be a better option. Finally, the 500-gallon offset smoker on a trailer. A lot of people will ask me, hey, I'm thinking about starting a barbecue business, what kind of smoker should I get? And usually I give them this rule. Imagine the most people you could ever see yourself cooking for, double it, get a smoker that's big enough to cook for that size. And for most people, the 500 is the right size because at this size, it's still easily transportable. It's not as hard to transport around as a 1,000-gallon pit. Also, it cooks super well. I mean, in terms of flavor, you can't really beat something like this. So for aspiring caterers, people who want to do pop-ups, people who think they might want to start a restaurant, something like this is a great choice. If you guys found this helpful, please let me know in the comments down below. I'm actually going to be doing a big comparison test where I cook a brisket at the same time on all of these smokers, and hopefully we get to do a blind taste test and we get to see really what's what when it comes to how they cook. If you found it helpful, hit the like button, subscribe down below. You can also follow me on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook at Mad Scientist Barbecue. I'll see you guys next time. So, the Brazos has more space, the Oklahoma, the Oklahoma, okay. So I got this video, no, not this video, okay. It's not the heat, it's the humidity. Next up we have the Oklahoma Joe. So this is, on this thing you get, I'm over here sweating like a pig. If you, ready? Or should we wait? I'm gonna